only one company in America that builds main battle tanks. 1. General Dynamics Land Systems, operating out of a factory in Lima, Ohio. That is the only facility on Earth where an M1 Abrams tank is manufactured. And in 2013, the United States Army did something extraordinary. It told Congress, "We have enough tanks, please stop buying them." And Congress said no and kept the Lima, Ohio production line running, buying tanks that the Army did not want, did not ask for, and did not need at the time. Not because Congress was being irrational, but because they understood something about the economics of tank production that the Army supply managers were not fully weighing. That stopping a tank production line and then trying to restart it when geopolitical circumstances change costs more, takes longer, and loses more institutional knowledge than simply keeping it running at minimum viable production, even in years when nobody needs the output. And then in 2022, the calculation that Congress had been making for 9 years turned out to be correct. Ukraine needed tanks, and the Lima, Ohio production line was ready. Today, I am going to decode the complete economics of owning a military tank company, the monopoly that makes it unique, the government contract economics that make it unlike any civilian business, the Ukraine demand explosion that has transformed the financial outlook, and the upgrade cycle economics that generate revenue from the same tank for 40 years. The monopoly economics that change everything. Here is the structural fact about the American tank industry that most people have never considered, and that shapes every economic decision in the business. There is no competition. Zero. The M1 Abrams is built by one company, in one factory, in one city, and has been since production began in 1980. This is not because General Dynamics Land Systems outcompeted other tank manufacturers. It is because the United States government decided that maintaining multiple competing tank production lines in peacetime, when demand is limited, is economically inefficient, and consolidated the program into a single contractor relationship. The economic consequences of this monopoly are profound, and cut in both directions simultaneously. For General Dynamics, the monopoly means guaranteed market share. No competitor can undercut their price to the US government. No alternative supplier can be substituted if GDLS performs poorly. The government needs tanks. GDLS makes tanks. That relationship is permanent. But the monopoly also means that every negotiation with the government, every contract renewal, every pricing discussion happens with a counterparty that knows GDLS has no alternative customers for the volume of tanks it produces, and can use that leverage to manage pricing in ways that would be impossible if GDLS had commercial alternatives. The government bought tanks nobody wanted. Here's the most extraordinary episode in the history of defense procurement economics, and the one that reveals most clearly how the economics of tank ownership differ from every other industry we have covered in this series. Between 2013 and 2017, the United States Army repeatedly told Congress that it had sufficient M1 Abrams inventory, and requested that tank procurement funding be redirected to other priorities. The Army was not asking for fewer tanks because it had changed its strategic doctrine. It was asking for fewer tanks because it already had more than it could crew, maintain, and deploy in the operational scenarios it was planning for. Congress ignored these requests while it and continued funding Abrams production at the Lima, Ohio facility at approximately $250 million per year, buying tanks that went directly into storage. And the reason Congress overruled the professional military judgment of the Army's own equipment managers is economically rational, even if it looks absurd on the surface. The Lima, Ohio production facility employs approximately 1,000 direct workers and supports approximately 1,700 indirect jobs in the surrounding economy. It is located in congressional districts that have been economically dependent on that employment for 4 decades. And it is supported by a supply chain of approximately 900 suppliers across 40 states. The same geographic distribution logic that makes the F-35 program politically uncancelable makes the Abrams production line politically mandatory. Even when the Army says it has enough tanks, the tank procurement economics. Here's what the financial transaction looks like at the most basic level. A single M1 A2SEP V3 Abrams tank. The current production standard costs approximately $8.58 million to the US government. That price includes the tank itself, the electronics package, the fire control system, the thermal imaging, the active protection system, the ammunition storage, and the integration of all these components into a combat-ready vehicle. But as with the fighter jet, the purchase price is only the beginning of the economic story. A tank that enters service at $8.58 million will accumulate operating costs of approximately $1.5 to $2.5 million per year in fuel, maintenance, crew training, parts replacement, and periodic system upgrades over its projected operational life of 30 to 50 years. The total life cycle cost of a single Abrams tank, from purchase to retirement, runs between $53 million and $133 million on an $8.58 million initial investment. The fuel economics of a gas turbine in a ground vehicle. Here's a technical economic detail that makes the Abrams one of the most expensive military vehicles to operate on a per-mile basis. The M1 Abrams uses a Honeywell AGT150 gas turbine engine, the same type of engine used in commercial jet aircraft, rather than the diesel engine used in virtually every other main battle tank in the world. This design choice was made for performance and power-to-weight ratio reasons, and it gives the Abrams exceptional acceleration and cross-country speed. But it comes with an operating cost that is extraordinary for a ground vehicle. The AGT-1500 burns approximately 60 gallons of jet fuel per hour at idle and approximately 120 gallons per hour under full power. A tank that idles for 6 hours and moves under power for 2 hours in a typical training day burns approximately 480 gallons of fuel. At approximately $6 per gallon for military-grade jet fuel, that is $2,880 in fuel for one tank, for one day. A U.S. Army Armored Brigade of approximately 87 tanks, in a training exercise lasting 10 days, burns approximately $4.2 million in fuel from idling and moving alone, before accounting for maintenance, spare parts, or crew compensation. The Ukraine demand transformation. Here is the event that changed the financial outlook of the tank production industry more dramatically than anything since the Cold War ended. The Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 created an immediate and enormous demand shock for NATO standard military equipment, including tanks. The United States committed 31 M1 A2 Abrams test tanks to Ukraine in 2023, representing approximately $266 million at current procurement prices. And those 31 tanks went directly to the front, meaning they were being attritioned, damaged, destroyed in active combat, and requiring replacement simultaneously. Every NATO nation that had been deferring tank procurement for budget reasons looked at the footage from Ukraine and accelerated its tank modernization programs. Poland ordered 450 M1 A2 SEP V3 tanks from the United States in a foreign military sale worth approximately $6 billion. Australia committed to acquiring 75 Abrams at a cost of approximately $3.5 billion, including support and upgrades, and the Lima, Ohio production line, which had been running at minimum viable rates, producing roughly 150 to 200 tanks per year, suddenly faced demand that significantly exceeded its capacity, with delivery queues stretching 3 to 5 years into the future. The upgrade cycle economics. Here is a revenue model that makes General Dynamics land systems more economically resilient than any civilian vehicle manufacturer. And that explains why the Abrams remains in active production more than 40 years after the first unit was delivered. The original MM1 Abrams that entered service in 1980, and the M1 A2 SEPV4 being delivered to the Army in 2026, share a whole configuration and general design philosophy, but share almost nothing else. The fire control systems, the electronics, the active protection, the communications, the armor packages have been continuously upgraded through at least 5 distinct major variants and dozens of incremental improvements, and each of those upgrades represents a contract for General Dynamics, a revenue event from an asset that was originally purchased 40 years ago. An Abrams tank that entered service in 1982 has probably generated upgrade revenue equivalent to 2 to 4 times its original purchase price over the decades of continuous modernization. And the Army currently has approximately 5,000 Abrams in various configurations, each one representing a potential upgrade contract. As the Army standardizes on the SEPV3 and SEPV4 configurations, the revenue from upgrading those existing tanks is more predictable, more profitable, and more strategically important to GDLS than new production contracts, the foreign military sales economics. Here is the international revenue dimension that most Americans never think about when they consider the economics of tank production. The United States government operates a program called foreign military sales, through which allied nations purchase American defense equipment, not directly from the manufacturer, but through the U.S. government as an intermediary, which conducts the transaction, manages the export licensing, provides the training and logistics support, and takes an administrative fee for its role in the process. For GDLS, foreign military sales represent approximately 40% of total Abrams production revenue, and the economics are favorable because foreign buyers typically accept longer delivery times, pay premiums for configuration customization, and generate long-term support and parts contracts that provide recurring revenue for decades. Saudi Arabia operates approximately 900 Abrams tanks. Egypt operates approximately 1,700, the largest foreign Abrams fleet in the world, and both countries generate continuous parts, maintenance, and upgrade revenue for GDLS and its supply chain, revenue that is entirely independent of U.S. defense budget cycles. And that provides economic stability when domestic procurement fluctuates. Here is the complete economics of General Dynamics Land Systems as a business. Annual revenue approximately $10 billion across all programs. Abrams production and upgrade revenue approximately $3 to $4 billion annually. Net profit margin approximately 12 to 14%. Annual profit approximately $1.2 to $1.4 billion. Order backlog driven by Ukraine, demand and allied procurement, multi-year, revenue visibility, exceptional by any industrial standard. Customer concentration risk, the US government and US government. Intermediated foreign sales are essentially the only customers, which is both the greatest strength and the only real vulnerability of the business model. Here's the honest economic truth about owning a military tank company in 2026. It is the most protected, most politically insulated, most geopolitically driven business in American manufacturing. The product has one customer, who cannot stop buying it without destroying the capability to make it. The factory has one location that 100 senators and 435 Congress members have an indirect interest in keeping operational. The demand has been transformed by two simultaneous active conflicts driving procurement across 40 allied nations. And the product generates revenue not just when it is sold, but every time it is upgraded, every time it is repaired, and every time the country that bought it decides to buy more. Jake drives past a news ticker showing M1, Abrams tanks being unloaded at a European port, and thinks about the Lima, Ohio factory that built them. The Congress that kept that factory open when the Army said it didn't need more tanks. And the extraordinary economics of the one business in America that makes something that no other business can make, that no government can stop buying, and that keeps generating revenue 40 years after the first unit rolled off the line. You have been decoded. If this video showed you the defense industrial economy from an angle you have never seen before, subscribe to Money Decoder 3004. Every single week, we decode the economics of the systems and industries that shape every American's financial and political life. Simply, honestly, and clearly. Drop a comment below. Do you think the United States should maintain a single monopoly tank manufacturer? Or would competition produce better economics for taxpayers? Tell me below. I read every single comment, and I will see you in the next decode.